Let's Talk Africa, organized by the TIEC Group, a world of education.
So here we are at Let's Talk Africa 4. I'm Henry Bonsu, one of the hosts here. I'm delighted to say I've been joined by Samuel Kasumu, who is the founder of Elevation Networks and is also a young Tory activist and a young man who believes in investing in entrepreneurs of the future, both here in the UK and in Africa. Samuel, welcome to the stage here. You've spoken this morning. What do you think of the event?
I think it's a fantastic event. I think it's something that is needed, it's timely. At a time when Africa is rising, there is a need for the diaspora to engage, for the British government to engage, and for British business to engage. So an event like this that brings it all together under one umbrella is fantastic and excellent.
Now, most people know you for Elevation Networks, that program which is looking to reach out to young people and build up their capacity, especially African, Caribbean and Asian graduates. Tell us about your interest in Africa.
Well, from an African perspective, our work in politics now has kind of shifted from the whole focus, although I'm still passionate about it, focus of the British government engaging with ethnic minorities in the UK. They've now kind of moved on to focus on international policy. I'm fascinated by the idea of Britain's relationship with many of these developing countries, moving from a simply aid perspective to a trade, to a relation, more of a dialogue, relational kind of relationship. So I've been looking a lot in Africa. I've spent the last 2 or 3 months going to Africa, different areas in Africa, with members of Parliament, the Lord Mayor of the City of London, seeing what we can do there from a delegation perspective. And hopefully in the coming months we make some recommendations that will influence the manifestos of all three parties for 2015.
And when you went to those countries, what did you see and what did you say to the mayors, the business people and others who will be mainly white British? There you are, a son of Africa, I suppose with a different connection to the continent. What did you see, what did you say to them?
Well, I mean, what I saw was what most of them saw too, which was a country or countries with major opportunities, you know, with fast-growing, dynamic, huge resources, huge populations, with so much potential. And a British government or British business that has been very slow to engage with this kind of new type of Africa. For a lot of us, including myself, it was an opportunity to learn, but also to make sure that we have a story to take back, to say we've seen it firsthand and it works. I think that a lot of British businesses had felt apprehensive about engaging with Africa, but once they went, those who were privileged enough to go, they realised that it was a big mistake.
What kind of businesses did you visit? What kind of people did you speak to, and what did they say to you?
So we had most of the delegations were very diverse. So we visited a lot of government ministries. So we
Which countries?
In Nigeria, Angola, South Africa. When we visited those ministries, we could see what was happening from a strategic perspective. Because of course, when you then go to the private sector or you go and speak to the man on the street, their story of what the government is doing is very different. So we needed to speak to all three to have our own format, our own opinions. We then went to the private sector. We engaged with their financial services. I went to Lagos Stock Exchange, Nigeria Stock Exchange. We met with a lot of entrepreneurs that were made millions or billions through doing whatever they did at certain moments in Africa's history, to see what they were up to. And then of course we spoke to the SMEs and the young people, which was probably the area I was most passionate about whilst we were out there.
And I know that you're going to be drawing up a series of recommendations, but at this point, what instinctively do you think is going wrong with British policy towards Africa? What is going right with it? What do you think needs to change?
Yeah, I think the focus for now, although I tend to be quite critical, should be on where are we going. So Britain as a political environment is looking increasingly at developing nations and how our relationship can be strengthened. So in terms of what is going well, I think the shift in policy, particularly the Secretary of State for International Development, is something that is good, is needed.
Removing aid from the likes of South Africa, threatening to remove more aid from the likes of Rwanda, attaching it to good governance. shifting away from traditional development models to what business and investment?
Yeah. I think yes, in most instances, is the right thing to do. So, and when we say removing aid, sometimes there's an assumption that someone has today said there's going to be no more aid, so get over it. It's more saying, well, how can we evolve our relationship over the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years? So South Africa's aid, yes, has been removed, but hasn't been removed and will be removed in 2015. And they are the leading economy in Africa, so our relationship should be a bit different compared to maybe some of the countries a bit more quiet. But also, I think the development of a policy that is strategic and timely is what is important. The only apprehension I would have is if Britain as a government, the British government, continues to maybe be a bit too judgmental of certain countries who are still evolving their own ideas and democracy and way of life. I don't think we have a leg to stand on.
So the likes of maybe Rwanda, Eritrea, even Zimbabwe?
I mean, there are balances. And I think we have to be very sensitive as to where to strike that balance.
And finally, I mean, here you are, a young British African who's had the opportunity to travel to several different African countries, bring back your experience here, and talk to people in this room about the Africa you see and the Africa they might see. Many of them, though, if not most, were born and raised in Africa. They've come here to study, and they might go back home. What's your advice to people like me, for example, many of us, born and raised in the UK, looking to engage increasingly with Africa? We might be a bit risk averse, and we need the right advice. What would you say?
I would say that there are systems out there that will allow you to engage in a way that is safe, in a way that allows you to make a reasonable and mature decision. So you should reach out to them. We have UKTI across the world. We have the British Council, we have high commissions everywhere. So there is no excuse for people like myself and yourself not to engage and find out just how good it is. And these are free opportunities for you to engage with.
And have you put your own money into any businesses in Africa?
Well, I've invested in a school. I've invested in a mobile fundraising firm. So those are my two strategic investments in Africa so far. But of course, I'm going to continue to look out for good opportunities, and I'm sure in the next 3 to 5 years, a lot of the success that some of our investments will have will probably be with those from emerging markets.
One more thing, Samuel. You have said in the past, and others have reported, that there is a serious problem with employment opportunities for African graduates in particular.
Yes.
What is being done about it? Because you've written a report, you've published one, lots of publicity, now it's gone quiet. We're wondering whether or not anything is being done.
In the UK?
In the UK, because there's so many African graduates who are doing very well, who've qualified, to postgraduates, PhD, and they're driving taxis and they're doing security.
Yeah. I mean, to be completely honest with you, not enough has been done. We have 2 years till 2015, and unfortunately, politics works in cycles. So if you were to ask me, honestly, how much I think will be done between now and the next 2 years, I would say not very much. I also think that I'm a conservative, and as a party, we have a focus that has had to shift because we didn't win a majority. And for us to even win what we won in 2010, we're going to have to maintain our core vote. So we have a friction in the party. How do you broaden your appeal whilst at the same time trying to maintain your core vote?
How do you broaden your appeal to those Africans who might be instinctively conservative or politically vote left, but who have great potential that's going to waste?
Yeah, and it's going to take a generation to fix it because maybe we don't have the talent, the resource, the desire, I mean I do, but as a party to really do what is needed to push us on. I'm still hopeful, but maybe not for 2015, maybe 2020 and 2025.
By then you may be back in Nigeria.
So maybe.
Kasumu from Elevation Networks, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.